Hi, this is Viewpoint Ministries, and this is the podcast where we look at a particular topic and then we have a little bit of conversation with it. It is not meant to be long and it's going to be really, really short. My name is Solomon Oluwabiye, and I'm your host today. So let me bring in my co host so we can dive into today's conversation here on this podcast, as well as the person for the job for us today. And that is Mr. Shonuga here for us today to answer our questions. Over to you, my co-host.
Hi, my name is Tennille Gregory, and I'm excited about today's topic, which is what is the importance of a diversified portfolio?
I'm assuming that's a question for me.
That's correct.
Of course, I'm glad to be here and talk about diversified portfolio. You know how it says don't put all your eggs in one basket, they come various ones. Simply, that is what it means. Because of the market, when money moves around, you want to be where the money is. You want to. The most important thing about diversifying your portfolio is spreading your risk, basically. So in one industry, technology, they may be losing money today, but in energy, they're making it. Tomorrow is going to be healthcare that is affected. So that way, when you lose money, you don't lose, all your money. So it goes up and down, So depending on the kind of investor you are, you can now have different kind of asset mixes, so to speak. You have to find out what kind of investor you are. Now, do you want 50% cash? 50% is too much. Maybe 20% cash, 50% stocks, 30% bonds, and within that, also the stocks from different sectors or industries. You want to mix it up in there too. Then with your bond, T-bills, treasury bills, bonds from US government, corporate ones. So you mix it up like that, And then also you want to mix it up where some is short-term investment, we were talking earlier on about CDs. Now you can just put your money in CD for short. Maybe you want to keep it there. Now the interest rates are going up. So you just go and put it there for like maybe 18 months, for example. Then there are some other bonds that you put money in, or CD that are longer than that, depending on your goal and what you're trying to do. So everything depends. But for the main category of investment diversity is either stocks, bonds, or cash. So then that is where you want to put your money in. So if you go and look at your portfolio and you see that you have, again, it depends on you as an investor. So if you see that 80% of your portfolio is stocks, you may want to rethink it. Does that mean it's bad? Not necessarily so. If you have a good mix within that 80% though, that is not bad. Then depending on your age, again, your goal and the level of your risk tolerance level, Me, I'm very aggressive. I've always been down market, up market is irrelevant. I'm always aggressive. So you have to understand that and why you do it. Like, for example, and there are basically three basic in the industry, studying it, that they like a conservative portfolio would be something like 20% stocks, 50% bonds, 30% short-term investments. So as you can see, even if 20% is going down the drain, most of their money, it's still there. And it's, even though they will not be hitting the highs of the stock investments. They may not be going crazy like we saw some stocks did in recent times, but at the same time, they will not be going down because 50% is debt, their bonds. So they are okay there. Like I said, the short-term investment, so it's not like long-term. They don't have access to their money. Then there's something that some people consider as a balanced portfolio, which is 50% stocks, 40% bonds, 10% short-term investments. So that I like that a lot better than the conservative portfolio. That one is quote unquote considered balanced portfolio because you want to. Equity stocks, something is always happening, so you want to be there. Again, if you say you are a 60, 70-year-old person that you want to be careful with your personal portfolio example, because if the market goes down, it may not work for you, not coming back on time, or you are 60 or 55, you're going to be retiring maybe in 10 years or 5 years, even though you may have started out even as growth, and we'll get to growth in a minute. Growth investing, maybe when you are younger or when you first got into investing, got into investing, you are very aggressive then. But as times goes, and depending on what your primary goal, what your goal as an investor is, then you start moving, a little bit. And of course, then the growth stocks the growth portfolio will be, for example, 70% stocks, 25% bonds, and 5% short-term investments, basically cash, have you, or 70%. So you may start out that aggressively, but as times goes on, or you get nearer to retirement, or what have you, you may now start to bring it down. It's a very, very good thing to have. It just makes sense, Then sometimes you may buy, then with stocks, say even then within your stocks, let's say stocks portfolio, then you see one stock, and at the time it happened where Tesla just with overnight in a particular portfolio, it just jumped up like go up 700% of what we have in the portfolio. Now that one stock was like it's about 35% of our portfolio. It's like, whoa. So right there and there, you have to do something to rebalance it, to diversify it. It is very, very important that you don't just leave it there. You take some money out, then that money, so then it dropped from 30. We sold enough that it dropped from 35% to, I can't remember, maybe 10% or 7%. Then we use that money to buy other stocks, So you have to diversify, and it's not like you just buy it and then you do nothing. You have to do something. You have to keep on doing that. So then you buy and you hold. You don't just for long-term investors like me. You guys know that already. I'm a believer in long-term investment, holding it. I seldom sell. That's why I'm reluctant to just put money anywhere. Then another way for people who doesn't want to deal with individual stocks is to buy funds. Exchange traded funds, ETFs is a good and popular one these days. You put your money into them and you don't know what is in it, but you're just following all the exchanges, the funds they created. So you go with the market, So there is that there. So again, within that, it's another basket because it's not just one stock. Then there are different kinds of stocks that goes in there, or even sectors. Then within that sector, there's different stocks in there. So really, you're really spreading the risk. You're really diversifying your portfolio. Is very, very important. So that is the way to go. You have to do that over time. You got to keep an eye on it, of course. So to reiterate, there are three basic asset classes. There is stock, there is bonds, and there is cash. So now you balance it depending on what you're doing, where you want to be, and where you are, and so it's very, very important. And I must also say this, that the way they are, it's the most secure on all of them, of course, is the cash. I mean, there is inflation right now that is biting hard into it. It's never going to be, that's not going to be forever, and that is not always the case. But even then, it's still the least risky. Then the next level will be the bonds, because the debt you lend in the government or company or your local government or county, you lend your state, you lend in them money, then they promise to give it back to you. So the chances that United States government will go bankrupt, or state of California will go bankrupt, or state of Maryland will go bankrupt, is it possible? No. Is it plausible? I don't think so. But it's happened before. But even then, when they bounce back, they still owe you and they will pay you that money. But then they are moderate. You're not going to be making big bucks there. Then there is also this. Then the most risky is the stocks, and in the stocks there are, there's just a lot of stuff in there. But then you make more. There's potentially for more money, but then there's potential for losing money also. Then even if we go further to even the more riskier ones, like what am I going to call it? I mean, what's failing me now? Like crypto, for example. So but there is I don't want to use the name that what it would categorize it as, but it doesn't belong to any of the other very highly speculative, like gold or mining, minerals, all those kind of those kind of investments. Are they viable? Yes. Very high risk. But if you hit it, like, I don't need to tell you that you already see that I know people who bought it at $1,000, Bitcoin at $1,000, and they sold it at $60,000. So there is no other area that you will find that, even with stocks. It's not impossible. I mean, it's happened before with stocks, but that is quite a range, So at the same time, you saw people who bought it, they caught the fever, and they bought it at $60K, $55K, $50K, $40K. But today, it's traded at half that, So one got to understand all of those things. But if you how am I going to put it? If you are a savvy investor that you spread your risk, then you wouldn't have to worry. Say in those four areas I just mentioned: the alternative investments, equity, stocks, fixed income, bonds, then the cash. If you spread, if you put the same amount in all of them, the most you will be holding from now, depending on when you bought it, would be just 25%, as opposed to is 50% of your portfolio, for example. So there is, it's very, very important to have a well diversified portfolio, and you don't just stop there. You must always go there and rebalance it. You must always go there, keep an eye on it. When I say always, I'm not talking every day or every month, but you pay attention to it, and you won't regret it. So.
Well, thank you for providing all that. That's a lot of information that you provided about the importance of having a diversified portfolio. I realize you're coming in hot because we just finished our live show about investing. So you have you're firing out all cylinders, and you gave us way a whole lot of information, but we appreciate it. So just to round it up with the 3 points that I was able to glean from what you just talked about, you talked about spreading the risk. You talked about what kind of investor you are, knowing whether you want to be conservative or aggressive, and about having a balance and how you can balance the investments in stocks, bonds, and cash. And so I love that you provided all that information to us. And with that, I will pass it to our co-host to close us out.
Very good, very good. Thank you so much, Mr. Schoeniger, for helping us to do this today. Your time is well appreciated, and hopefully we will get to again have you back on our podcast, like we have you on the regular YouTube platform. Thank you so much, sir, for coming today.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Yes, sir. To all of our viewers or listeners, this presentation is done for educational purposes, and it is not intended or is not intended for recommendation purposes. So whatever you have heard us talking about today, stocks, mutual fund, and other security that may be referenced in these podcasts, please note that it is for educational purposes. The security of companies referenced in this presentation today are for illustration purposes and not to be considered, endorsed, or recommended for purchase or for sale by Viewpoint Ministries International. So please do not hold us as ransom, neither should you hold us responsible. Please do all diligence to be able to make your own decision. If you need further help or assistance, though, feel free to send us an email, info@viewpointministriesinternational.org, or you can visit our website, www.viewpointministriesinternational, and send us a message, send us your questions. We will be glad to go back and get Mr. Schoeniger to respond to your question. But please, this podcast is for educational purposes only. Well, until we come your way again, I remain yours, Solomon Oluwabiye. Until next time, have a wonderful and glorious week.